The topic that we are going to discuss in this module is the ultrasound diagnosis of placenta accreta spectrum. Some also refer to the placenta accreta as an abnormally invasive placenta. So we are going to use both the terms. In placenta accreta, there is a lack of plane of cleavage between the placenta and the uterine wall. So if you attempt to remove the placenta forcibly, you end up with life-threatening hemorrhage. Now this is what we will discuss in the placenta accreta spectrum. First, we will go very briefly into the pathophysiology and the risk factors. Then we will discuss the appearance of a normal placenta before we go on to the abnormal ultrasound findings. We will also talk about a few diagnostic pitfalls and conclude with the first trimester diagnosis of invasive placenta. Just prior to implantation, the endometrium gets converted into the decidua. The superficial layer is called decidua compacta and the deeper layer is the decidua spongiosa. In a normal placenta, the delivery of the baby causes the plane of cleavage to run through the decidua spongiosa, leading to complete separation of the placenta. In an adherent placenta, the trophoblast attaches itself firmly to the myometrium. In placenta increta, the trophoblast infiltrates into the deeper layer of the muscle, while in percreta, the placenta crosses the myometrium and sometimes even the serosa to invade into adjacent organs like the bladder. So the placenta accreta spectrum consists of the adherent placenta and the invasive placenta. Invasive placenta is further divided into placenta increta, which infiltrates into the myometrium, and placenta percreta, which extends beyond the myometrium and sometimes into the serosa and the adjacent organs. The incidence of placenta accreta is 3 to 4 per 10,000 pregnancies. It increases 7 times with one previous cesarean section and 56 times with 3 previous cesarean sections. The question we need to answer is whether the problem lies with the placenta or the uterus. Earlier, it was thought that the cause was a primary defect in the placenta or the trophoblast, like that which is seen in mole, hydatidiform mole. Because it is seen that the formation of extravillous trophoblast occurs differently in the placenta accreta, giving rise to a more invasive phenotype, people blamed it on the placenta. However, it is believed now that this process is completely regulated by the decidua, not the placenta. The classic model which is used to explain this is the ectopic pregnancy. In every untreated ectopic pregnancy, as we know, the trophoblast always invades through the muscular and the serosal layer of the tube and ultimately causes a tubal rupture. Hence, the placenta has an innate tendency to keep invading deeper and deeper. It is the uterus or the decidua which has to keep it in check. So, the problem in placenta accreta is always the uterus and never the placenta. There are two mechanisms postulated. One, when there is a deep endometrial defect such as in a previous caesarean. Here the trophoblast comes in direct contact with the myometrium or the thin decidua, leading to myometrial invasion. In the second case, the endometrial defect is not so deep, for example after extensive curettage or in case of endometritis. However, because of extensive scarring, an avascular area is created leading to a hypoxic environment at the implantation site. This causes the trophoblast to keep invading deeper and deeper in search of a better blood supply. So either a deep defect or extensive scarring at the implantation site can lead to an invasive placenta. The risk factors therefore are previous caesarean section, anterior placenta previa, and deep endometrial damage such as an extensive curettage, manual removal of an adherent placenta, or postpartum endometritis. By and large, a vast majority of patients will have a combination of the first two risk factors, that is, a previous caesarean section and an anterior placenta previa. Ultrasound signs are present in 80% cases of an abnormally invasive placenta, but antenatal detection occurs only in 35% of cases. That is because you may not see abnormal signs always in the first or second trimester, and sometimes typical signs may appear late in the second half of pregnancy. Therefore, every obstetrician who does a screening ultrasound anytime in pregnancy should know how to diagnose an invasive placenta. So, before we go on to these abnormal signs, it is very important to understand a few specific things about a normal placenta so that it becomes easy for you to identify whenever there is an abnormal one. In the first half of pregnancy, the normal placenta appears homogeneous and slightly brighter or echogenic compared to the myometrium. After mid pregnancy, you can sometimes see a few dark areas within the placental substance called placental lakes. These are simply vascular spaces in the placenta surrounded by a normal parenchyma. In case of an anterior placenta, you can identify four distinct layers. First, of course, the placenta. Just below the placenta, a dark or echolucent line can be identified, and this is called a clear zone. Identification of the clear zone is very important in ruling out placenta accreta. Below that, you have the myometrium, which has a medium echogenicity. And lastly, the bladder wall, which appears bright or echogenic, and it is a straight line. Once more, you have the placenta, you have the clear zone, the myometrium, and lastly, the bladder wall. Now, I use chroma or color to give more contrast to my images, but even if you are using grayscale like this image, you can still identify all the layers. In a posterior placenta, you may not be able to identify the myometrium due to lack of a contrasting bladder. However, there are two findings that rule out placenta accreta. One, the homogeneous uniform appearance of the placenta, and two, the clear zone throughout the extent of the placenta. There are two important things that we must know. One, ultrasound cannot reliably distinguish between the three types of placenta accreta. And second, all three may coexist within the same placenta. So you may have a bit of placenta that is simply adherent, you may have a bit of placenta going into the myometrium, and a third part of the placenta may be crossing the serosa. Now, this is what an invasive placenta looks like on ultrasound. This patient is a case of a previous LSCS with an anterior placenta previa. I just want you to take in the general appearance before we discuss each and every sign in detail. We are going to discuss ultrasound signs under two headings, the B mode or grayscale signs and the color Doppler signs. The B mode or grayscale signs in an invasive placenta include 1. Abnormal placental lacunae, 2. Loss of clear zone, 3. Myometrial thinning, 4. Placental bulge, and 5. Bladder wall interruption. Now this is an image of placenta accreta, and we are going to use the image of a normal placenta on the left side for comparison. Now I like to add a bit of color to my images to improve the contrast, and we are going to do just that. So I'm going to switch on the chroma. Okay, that's so much better. So now let's go through the B mode ultrasound signs one by one. First sign that we are going to discuss is abnormal placental lacunae. This is the most obvious finding. The normal placenta has a homogeneous appearance. Occasionally you may find one or two lakes in it, but if you look at the invasive placenta, the entire placental mass has irregular lacunae, giving it a sort of honeycomb appearance. It almost looks as if the placenta is degenerating. Now this is a transverse section of the placenta, and you can again see the abnormal lacunae. They are more evident in the left half of the placenta. The second and very important sign is loss of clear zone. We have already discussed it in detail in the normal placenta. In case of placenta accreta, the placenta seems to merge imperceptibly into the myometrium without any distinct clear zone in between. You can get some false positives sometimes, like if you really press the probe too hard, that is increased probe pressure, or if the patient's bladder is empty, or sometimes in case of a posterior placenta in obese woman, you may not see the clear zone, but by and large it's a very sensitive and a specific sign of an invasive placenta. Myometrial thinning. The next sign we will look at is myometrial thinning. Looking at the image of placenta accreta, you will notice that the myometrium hardly is visible. This is not a very specific sign, but it adds on to the diagnostic accuracy. Now I want you to look at the normal image on the left side. You will notice that the echogenic bladder wall almost forms a straight line. However, if you look on the right side, the placenta seems to bulge into the bladder and the bladder wall appears convex. Now, this is called a placental bulge sign. The last sign that we are going to see is bladder wall interruption. That is only seen in placenta percreta. Here you can see at some places the echogenic bladder wall cannot be demonstrated, indicating that in this case the bladder wall has been invaded. However, unless you actually see an exophytic mass inside the bladder, you can't really be sure of bladder wall involvement. Now I want you to have a look at this video clip of placenta accreta from the same patient that we have discussed and appreciate the various signs in real time. Look at the lacunae which are distributed throughout the substance of the placenta. Have a look at the loss of clear zone, the myometrial thinning, the placental bulge, and bladder wall interruption. Let's discuss color Doppler. Now I want to emphasize that placenta accreta is a B mode diagnosis. You don't really need color Doppler. However, there are certain signs on color Doppler which can be typically demonstrated, and the three important signs are: first, utrovesical and subplacental hypovascularity; second, bridging vessels; and third, lacunae feeder vessels. Subplacental or utrovesical hypervascularity refers to the increased flow seen on color Doppler, which is restricted to the maternal surface of the placenta and the myometrial region. Now this point is very important. The hypervascularity is restricted only to the placental myometrial interface. It is not seen near the fetal surface. Bridging vessels. Sometimes you will see vessels arising from this hypervascular region, crossing the bladder wall and appearing to end in the bladder lumen. These are called as bridging vessels, and this is another specific sign of an invasive placenta, more commonly seen in case there is bladder wall invasion. The last sign is lacunae feeder vessels. These are blood vessels which are seen coming downwards from the hypervascular region into the substance of the placenta and ending in the lacunae. They actually arise from the arcuate vessels within the myometrium. So once more, the B mode signs are abnormal lacunae, loss of clear zone. These are the two most important signs. Then we have myometrial thinning, placental bulge, and in case of placenta percreta, you will also have bladder wall interruption. The color Doppler signs are subplacental hypervascularity, bridging vessels, and lacunae feeder vessels. Now let us discuss a few false positives and pitfalls in diagnosis of placenta accreta. Now if you see this image of placenta in this patient, you can see the loss of clear zone and myometrial thinning on the right side of the image. Now this is a patient with previous myomectomy and an anterior placenta, and it looks like this placenta is invading or at least adherent to the site of surgery. As soon as I reduce the probe pressure, the clear zone and the myometrium can both be seen distinctly. So you have to be aware of this false positive sign before jumping to the conclusion that you are looking at an invasive placenta. Now let's go to the second example. Here you can see a posterior placenta with something that looks like an abnormal lacunae. Actually, this is a large placental lake which is a perfectly normal finding. There are important differences between the two. Abnormal placental lacunae are numerous, smaller, and more importantly distributed throughout the substance of the placenta. In this case, other than the placental lake, the rest of the placenta looks absolutely normal. Also, if you look carefully, you can see the clear zone even though it's a posterior placenta. The third case is a patient with a previous cesarean and an anterior placenta previa. It looks like there is thinning of myometrium here, and you can even see the placental bulge. So should we call this placenta accreta? No, we don't. And why not? Because first, you can't see any abnormal lacunae which would be expected in such a case. And secondly, the clear zone is very well preserved. The diagnosis in this case was previous LSCS with a thin lower uterine segment, a finding which we often see during subsequent cesarean sections. Now this is the last case showing color Doppler of an anterior placenta previa. While you may diagnose this as hypervascularity, have a look at the image of placenta accreta which we saw earlier. Here in this right image, you can clearly see that the color is only seen in the region of the placenta myometrial interface and not throughout the placenta. So what is the problem with the first image? It is incorrect Doppler settings. You have ramped up the color gain so much that the whole box is throwing up shades of blue and red. So it's very important to set your machine correctly so that you can reach a correct diagnosis. Okay, let us look at the first trimester signs of placenta accreta. In early pregnancy, a placenta accreta will present as either a low implanted sac with a scar or simply as a scar ectopic pregnancy. At 11 to 13 week scan or the NT scan, you may see abnormal lacunae, you may see myometrial thinning and even loss of clear zone. However, sensitivity is slightly lower than that of second trimester and third trimester. Now this is an example of a low implanted sac with a previous scar. A low implanted sac may give rise to focal placenta accreta, but not always. So these patients need more surveillance in the second and third trimester of pregnancy. Now most of the cases of abnormally invasive placenta diagnosed in early pregnancy present as nothing but a scar pregnancy. Scar pregnancy and placenta accreta are believed to be one and the same pathology. So a scar pregnancy can have two outcomes. One, it may cause torrential hemorrhage or rupture in early pregnancy, or the gestational sac may grow into the normal endometrial cavity, giving rise to placenta increta or percreta. Unfortunately, it's not possible to predict which of the two things will happen in a scar pregnancy. At the 11 to 14 week scan or the NT scan, it is very difficult to identify a low implanted sac because by this time the sac has grown to occupy the whole uterine cavity. What can be seen, however, is abnormal placental lacunae, like you can clearly see in this image, loss of clear zone, and myometrial thinning. Now, this is a 12 weeks patient who was subsequently diagnosed to be placenta accreta. In cases of previous LSCS with a low-lying placenta, we should specifically look for this at the time of NT scan. So here are some take-home messages from this module. First, you must make it a habit to identify the clear zone whenever you look at any placenta. Second, the B mode signs are abnormal lacunae and loss of clear zone, myometrial thinning, placental bulge, bladder wall interruption. And the color Doppler signs are subplacental hypovascularity, bridging vessels, and lacunae feeder vessels. And this is a very important slide. The highest sensitivity and specificity for placenta accreta is when you have two risk factors, that is previous LSCS and an anterior placenta previa, and two signs on ultrasound, that is abnormal lacunae and loss of clear zone. Thank you.